Hello and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire. Before I get started, I did want to mention that my favorite crafty things series will be back soon. I just wanted to finish up a few videos and share them sooner rather than later. One example is this one where I show how to make handmade trees. I originally wasn't planning on making this into a video, but I was showing some handmade trees that I was making with Lila over on my Instagram stories, and many folks asked for a video, so here it is. I will be showing you how easy these are to make. You just need a few key tools, and we ended up making loads of trees to keep for decoration, but also to give as gifts. These were so easy, fun, and addictive to make that we'll be making more and some in the future years. Now for my trees, I used the Concord and 9th Take a Bough Encore die set. Now, a few years ago, Concord and 9th came out with a Take a Bough die set. This is a newer version called the Encore set. It allows you to make trees very quickly and fast, and they're nice and full. Now, I use these dies that you see in front of you so many times to cut tons and tons of pieces of cardstock and felt, and they're still cutting beautifully. So you can trust that they will hold up over time, and they work with any die cut machine you may have. Now, I did want to mention that they have an accessory die set, the set that you see to the right, that's available also. This creates a garland you can put on your tree, little light bulbs, and stars that you can put on the top. I decided not to use this set, but it is available. You can buy both of these sets separately or as a bundle. I'll link to everything below. I just used this set on the left. Now with these dies, Concord and 9th has shown how you can just cut from cardstock and build trees, and they look so awesome. I thought it'd be fun to add in felt to this. It just adds some texture and interest to it and kind of makes your tree a little bit more full. So that's what I'll be showing you today. Now the cardstock you use can be anything. I used Concord and 9th cardstock. And for felt, I used felt from Benzie Design. I've been buying Benzie design felt for many years. They have a beautiful assortment of colors and they are high quality, but you can use whatever felt you want. I just bought some by the yard or by the sheet in different greens and blues and grays for today's examples. So for the trees I'm showing you today, I used a combination of cardstock and felt pieces. In addition to that, you'll need the wood stick that you put all the pieces on and a base. You could use a little pot or a wood block, whatever you want for the base, but I chose to use large wood slices. I'll link to the ones I use, plus a smaller version if you want to check those out. Right down the center of the wood slices, I drilled a hole. Now this hole is just the right size to put the wood piece in that will add all of our branches to. But you could also just glue it there if you prefer. So you can see there's a hole drilled right in the center, and I have a bamboo skewer that I will add my pieces to. Any kind of thin dowel rod will work for this too. I like the skewer, which I'll link to because it has a point on the top, which makes it easy to add the pieces. So off screen, I die cut a bunch of the Concord and 9th Take a Bough Encore die set. I did 4 of each size of these dies from cardstock and 4 from felt. That allows me to make a very full tree and a pretty big size tree. You can add more to that if you want to. Sometimes I added a few additional felt die cut pieces to make it even bigger. You could go smaller if you wanted to also. You'll see later that all of my trees are different sizes, so you have some flexibility. Normally I start with the largest die cut, so the one on the left. And I start with cardstock piece. So I have my skewer here, and I'm putting my largest cardstock die cut piece close to the bottom of it. On top of that, I'll add a felt piece of the same size. By doing the cardstock first, it kind of holds up the felt, which is a little bit floppy on its own. The cardstock keeps it up. Now I'll add another cardstock piece and offset it a bit, and then a felt piece. So I'll alternate between cardstock and felt, doing 4 of this largest size of each. So we're doing cardstock then felt, cardstock then felt, cardstock then felt, cardstock then felt, all of the same size. Now notice I'm not pushing them close together. We don't want this to be super tight, a teeny little bit of gap between each. That allows our tree to get taller faster. But we don't want the dowel rod or the skewer to be showing from the side. So this allows me to create a full tree very quickly. So you'll see I don't push it down completely, just kind of close to the last piece I put on. So this is 4 cardstock, 4 felt, alternating of the biggest size die. After that, I'll move on to the next size die, a little bit smaller. That's what you see me doing here. And I'll do 4 cardstock, 4 felt, alternating between. You could just do cardstock if you want to, maybe alternate between a dark and a medium green and build it up instead. The more pieces you add on, the bigger and fuller your tree will be. Now we're on to the 3rd and 4th biggest dies, and I'm doing the same process, cardstock and felt of each, doing 4 of each, and offsetting them each time. So you see they're not in the exact same spot every time. That allows your tree to be full from all angles. So think of all the different things that you could use for this. You could use glitter cardstock, textured cardstock, regular cardstock, scraps. You could do a rainbow going from the bottom to the top. But I really found my best results were when I combined cardstock and felt. Because the felt has a little dimension to it and a little softness to it, and the cardstock kept the tree from being too droopy, and also added a little bit of sharp texture here and there. Now in this example, I did a pool cardstock and a felt that's very close in color, but I actually found my best results were when the cardstock and the felt didn't match perfectly. In that case, you got a lot more interest on the tree, which you'll see later. So I'm continuing on here, but basically there are 8 different dies in the Concord and 9th Encore Take a Bough set. You start with the biggest on the bottom and you do 4 each. I did 4 cardstock and 4 felt each, and then work your way all the way to the top of the dowel rod with the smallest die. So you go from the largest die all the way to the smallest at the top. You can put as many layers of each as you want. It just depends on how tall you want your tree to be. You can actually get taller skewers or dowel rods if you want to make taller trees, and I'll link to some options below. Okay, so we're getting towards the top here. So we have the smallest one here. Now these small pieces, I actually don't usually do 4 cardstock and 4 felt of each. I usually only do 3 of each here because it's just this little bit at the top. And there you can see we have created a very fun full tree here. One thing I wanted to mention is that if you wanted to, you could first color the skewer like a dark brown to represent a trunk to a tree, but I kind of like the handmade feel of it how it is. You can also pull your hands up the side like I'm doing here to kind of curl the branches up and make sure there aren't any gaps, and that way you don't see that dowel rod. So there are many options. Now at the top, I like to cut off the excess, so there's only about a 1/2 inch left sticking out from the top of the tree. And now we can add a star. There is a star in that Concord and 9th accessory set that I showed you earlier, but I used a larger die from the Hero Arts Star Die Infinity set, which has many different sizes. I'm putting a very strong adhesive here. This is Honeybee Precision Glue, and I'm putting on both of my stars. I will sandwich the top of our skewer between these stars and hold it there. I cut this from some glitter paper from Memory Box. So put it right at the top, and I'll kind of hold it here for a few seconds, squeezing it tightly to make sure that it glues tightly around the top of our skewer and perfect at the top of the tree. And check that out, how nice that looks. Super easy and so much fun to do. Now here's the thing, you have a bare tree that you can add to however you want. You can use that accessory die set from Concord and 9th if you prefer. I did a few different options. On many of them, I added inexpensive little pom poms. So this one is what Lila made for her teachers. She just put a bunch of different colored pom poms, and she actually 3D printed some presents to go underneath it. We'll tie a little tag around it that says who it's to, along with a gift card, and she can write her name along the bottom. Very quick and easy to do, and such an easy thing for kids to assemble also. Here's one that I made for Lila one night after she went to bed. I cut all of my felt and cardstock from white, and I assembled the tree, and then I did a rainbow of pom-poms going up the tree. So Pom Poms are great because they're inexpensive and you can buy thousands of them for very little amount of money, but you could also add beads or pearls or gems or whatever you may have on hand. You can also die cut little pieces. Now, if you make your tree and you think the trunk is a little too long, you can push the wood slice up and then take any kind of wire clippers to clip it shorter. I like that long trunk on it. I think it's kind of fun, but if you want it shorter, just push the wood slice up, then use any kind of wire cutters. Here we go. I'll use the ones that I use to cut my dies. I cut it along the bottom, press it down, and there we have a shorter trunk. Again, you can color that trunk if you want, but I think it's kind of fun as is. This is the one that Lila made for Colin for his desk for virtual learning. This one's very full with dark green cardstock and felt, and then just red pom-pom ornaments added to it. Also, the die-cut gold star at the top. These here, these bright green ones, are the ones that Lila made for some of her friends. She ended up making 5 of these to give to them for Christmas. Now, the Benzie design that I linked to, they have many colors of green, so you can get a nice assortment. And one of the fun things you can do with all the different greens is mix them together. So for these, I used all of my leftover felt and cardstock and mixed them together, and they ended up being my favorites. I love all the blues and greens that you can see here together on one tree. So I was able to make several trees like that, and that will be a collection that I have on a little table in my house. So here's a closer look at the mix of colors I did. I did both cardstock and felt once again, but at the top I decided to skip the star, so it was just the green tree. Also, don't feel like you have to stick to traditional colors when making these trees. Here I did some kind of sagey pool colors. This matches my house nicely, and I added like champagne glitter stars to the top. Now, I didn't add any kind of pom-poms or ornaments to this because I plan to add twinkle lights. I use these twinkle lights for my Christmas decorations often. These happen to have a copper wire, but I'm going to reorder the ones with the silver wire, and I'll wrap those around the trees. And I can tuck the little battery pack underneath the wood slice, and that way my trees will light up. I'll link to the twinkle lights that I like. I just need to order some more that are the silver wires, so they kind of blend into our tree better. Now for the ones that I plan to keep on display in our house, on some of them I added some pearls. I found some white and silver pearls in my craft stash that I added on to the trees. Now for adding these or the pom-poms, I just use a strong liquid adhesive such as the Honeybee, Precision Glue, or the Gina K Connect. One little dot on the cardstock or felt on these will hold the little pearls or pom-poms. So look at the different things that you have on your stash so that you can add to your trees to add a bit of interest. So there you have it, a really fast and easy way to use your craft supplies to make handmade trees. These are fun to make a collection that you can put on display each year, or you can give them as gifts to teachers, friends, anyone. If you're interested in the supplies I use, they are linked below in my YouTube description. Also, you can head over to my blog, which is linked here on the top right. In the middle here, I have a few other holiday projects you might like. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon and have a great day.